This is amazing. Isn't this exciting? I'm literally speechless at the moment. You can hear all the birds alarm calling at them. Oh, look at that. It's so cute. Look at that little one running up. So you can see they're able to climb trees now. This is absolutely amazing. So we're going to keep our distance from them while she's moving with them. We will stay with them. I'm hoping she's taking them to their first kill. I'm literally shivering with excitement. I don't even know if I can drive. We're going to keep our distance a little bit while she's moving with them. And they're playing and running around off to the left in the bush, unfortunately, at the moment. I don't know what to say. Let's just enjoy it. Cubs are still behind her. She's laying down. So what I've done is just moved in front of her, and we're going to try sit here. She's probably going to call them right to her. They were playing in a tree a little bit off to the right of where she is now. There we go. So we're going to see some incredible stuff now. So leopard and jaguar are the only two cats that chuff as a form of communication, and it's sort of a low. Oh, sorry, Karula, I didn't mean to chuff at you. But we were going to watch her, and with cubs, they chuff a lot. So I'm just checking that there isn't a kill close by here somewhere in the trees. Doesn't look like it. So we spent a lot of time habituating Djuma. Now these cubs have been seen, but they're still going to need some habituation. They haven't been spent a lot of time around vehicles. And that's why I'm keeping my distance a little bit. And I'm speaking a little bit softly. There we go, she's calling to them. Stop playing over there and come here, you naughty little things. Yes, I'm just going to call it in on the radio quickly. Yeah, there's that chuffing. stations located Karula and Tumampimpan Shabam Road. One vehicle sighting for the moment. It looks like she might be taking them to some Djuma. I will keep everyone updated. We're just going to still keep our distance. As I said, the cubs aren't probably the most relaxed yet, so we are going to stay a little bit away. There you go. Bye-bye. Can you still see her? And I'm pretty sure, so that first set of tracks we found this morning was just her. I think she's killed something, and now she's gone back to fetch the cubs. Oh, that was very close. Land Rover doors and me are going to have an accident one of these days. So I'm sitting up just so I can have a bit more visual. So we're just chatting about this, and Suzanne's wondering, while we were tracking Karula, did we see cub tracks? So the tracks we found this morning, there were no cub tracks, which has lent me to believe that she's killed something, and she's gone back to fetch the cubs. Going to switch off, and what I'm going to listen for is any of the birds or alarm calling. Standing by, James. James, I think it's one for the moment, and I'm keeping it to one vehicle sighting. I think she is taking them to some Djuma, but I've lost her. We've been keeping quite far back. I will update as soon as I find her again. Copy, will do. So we're just going to loop around now, back towards, in case she's laid down and got that meat closer to where we were. So we are going to jump back on board with James while we try and get around and find her again. But don't worry, as soon as I get sight of those little bundles of joy, we will be jumping straight back on with Jandre and myself.
Well, isn't this wonderful? I don't necessarily mean that incredible artistic picture that Brian has formed there, but the arrival of the Queen and the princes and princesses, we don't know what they are yet, is extremely marvelous indeed. How incredible is this? And I'm deeply hopeful that she's going to keep them this side, mainly because that's kind of the core of her territory. So we may be in, let's hope, we may be in for another long while with them over the next few months. So let's hope. Anyway, Brenty is going to do his best in the most sensitive manner to re-find them. As he says, he thinks that they are going towards a kill perhaps, and let's just hope that that is the case, and that they then spend an extended period here on Djuma. I'm of course putting on a brave face right now because I'm massively jealous of the fact that we are bumbling around here trying to find a kill that the Nkahumas probably finished days ago somewhere in here, but that Brent is with those magnificent little leopards. I've seen them once before when they were very small, I was just driving along the road and she happened to have them out, and they were only about that big then, and now they're probably a lot bigger than that and walking around. This is just wonderful. Anyway, my plan from here is to spend a little bit of time around this area, see if we can't find what they killed, the Nkuhumas I mean, and in the meantime I will keep you posted. There are even more vultures up there. Yeah, we get the harbingers of death, and yet the new life of the cubs just to the south of where we are now. It's very poetic, isn't it, Brian?
That was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. I wonder if that kill isn't inside Arathusa here. We're now on the Arathusa border, and it could well be inside there. Now, of course, the chances are that we're going to see Nkanyeni, if I'm not mistaken, and her babies as well when we start driving around on Cheetah plains this afternoon. So the chances of many leopards of young generation are very high. Very exciting times indeed. I think let's go down this way here. Nice. Aqua, you have asked some very astute questions over the last little while, and you want to know why it is that Rupel's vulture would have been so high up in the sky. It was at 11,000, no, what was it at? Yeah, it was about, I've lost my mind now, about 11,000 feet, and at least 11,000 meters. Why was it up that high? Well, the answer, I think, is because that's often how they move. If they go between different areas, they will often go up that high because there are air currents there that help them to fly in certain directions that they want to go. It's energy efficient to be up there, and that's why he would have been up there, he or she. I don't know that, in fact, I'm fairly sure that he or she, the Rupel's vulture, did not survive the trauma of that mid-air collision. Enormous vultures that we have here, taking off, taking to the skies. There's a little bit of heat now, but you can see as they take off, their flight is quite labored. And while we look in amongst all the white-backed vultures, we must be careful that we don't misidentify one as a Cape vulture, the largest vulture species that we get here, and they've got they're almost identical to these white-backed vultures, but they also have a honey-coloured eye. So if you see them standing next to one, next to a whiteback, that's the kind of obvious denominator. Brent is still looking, everybody, fear not. And he has limited it to a one-vehicle sighting, which I think is very wise. And that just means that while they're moving, there won't be any pressure on those cubs. They'll be able to hear what's going on. And so if she does take them to a kill, for example, it could well be possible that he'll open it up to 2 sightings. That's an interesting one. And most of the vultures, as we know around here, are not killers of their own food. They will often, or they will normally, scavenge other kills. And Brenda, you want to know if one of these vultures was to see those cubs, would they be able to take one? Would they attempt to take one? And the answer is probably no. I don't think they would. I think there are records of the leopard-faced vulture trying to kill its own prey and killing its own prey. That's a pretty big vulture. Cape vulture maybe as well. A vulture here, these vultures have got very weak tarsal muscles. So whereas you've got something like a martial eagle or a crowned eagle, which has the power in the tarsals to crush, so their talons can crush the skull of a monkey or whatever it is that they're attacking. The muscles in a white-backed vulture, or in most of the vultures, are actually pretty weak. There they fly. You can see why they're called white-backed. There are lots and lots of them around here. It'd be fascinating to know what on earth was met its end in this facility. So, Brenda, they don't have the muscle power. And I went to a rehab center once where we fed a vulture, and the vulture came and sat on our arms, and you feel absolutely no pressure from it at all. It doesn't have those great squeezing muscles that the big raptors like the crowned eagle or the martial eagle have. So it'd be very difficult for them to kill something like those cubs. Those cubs are, I mean, look, they're not out of danger by any stretch of the imagination, but they've made it through possibly the most dangerous phase. The most dangerous phase that they have is before they're able to move, or before they're able to move with their mothers, before they're able to climb a tree, and before they're able to smell and understand danger. And that just seems to be the most dangerous time for a leopard cub. I'm in two minds as what to do now. Let's just watch those vultures. If they start to take off, if they go down again, then I will assume that there is sufficient meat around for us to hang around. If they don't, and I don't think they are, I think they're taking off. They seem to have found a little thermal just as the heat is starting to build up a little bit. So they are flying up into the sky. Yeah. So I'm going to assume that whatever it is they were eating yesterday, whatever it is the Nkahuma pride we're assuming was eating is finished, and that although we've had a wonderful time with the vultures, they ain't going to go down and see what else there is to eat. And we're going to therefore move on and see what else we can find, while Brent continues to search very sensitively for Karula. So, just to keep you posted, and I'm sure Brent told you this, but he has to stay well back from them. He doesn't want to make a big noise next to them, simply because he wants them to be able to hear. James Richard, a wonderful comment from you. You say, the cubs represent what is so great about Safari Live, because the finding of them sitting on the road there was just such an emotional flush for everybody around the world. You all felt such a tremendous sense of emotion, and I'm sure it was a joyful emotion largely. Well, if it wasn't, you should probably get your head checked. But an amazingly joyful emotion at seeing those young leopards in front of us. I don't know why it is that cat cubs are so profoundly special to us, but yeah, just the sight of them is a profoundly joyful thing. And I agree with you, James. Thank you for your comment. I think it's a good one, that is exactly what makes this so very special. We drive around, we see lots of very special things every day. And then you have an experience like that, where we've been waiting for it, we've been expecting it, we've been hoping that she would bring them across the boundary over the last sort of 3 weeks or so, and now she has. And the expectation has paid off, and I'm sure there are a huge number of smiles dotted around the world as we speak. There are the courting giraffe that Brent was looking at earlier. We might spend a little bit of time with them, given that Brent is onto other things. I hesitate to say better things, but one could hardly blame me for suggesting that those little cubs are better things. Well, this is our redhead. This is the redhead giraffe. I'd be surprised if she was an estrus. I thought that the youngster that we've been seeing for a while was hers, but maybe not. Definitely got amorous intent. And normally, of course, it's a ridiculous thing to watch because she has no interest, but there she is backing into him. She's backing into him. Lifting her tail. I don't want to start the engine. I know it's not the best view, everyone, but I don't want to start the engine right now. Just be quiet, everyone. Pretend we're not watching. Pretend you're averting your eyes, everyone. Brian, don't look. Just point the camera and turn your face away. promise we're not looking, Mr. Giraffe. That is, I mean, it would indicate that she is ready to mate, but the fact that she's backing into him like that. He has got no tail. He's a punk giraffe. And he's got a limp as well. This is amazing. Wow. Okay, let's go back a bit. I know you have spent an extended period with these chaps already today, but I still think it's going to be worthwhile. Hey, mate? I've gone behind some, she's being a bit of a voyeur. She's coming a little bit closer to us. The other thing you can see there, of course, the amazing difference in size. Now, fear not, as soon as those leopards are found, I promise you we will go across to them. So let's just enjoy the giraffe. Be patient, everyone. Brenty will do his best to get in there in the most sensitive manner possible. And it's almost, I mean, in case we don't find them again, because, like I say, Brent is going to struggle to find them without making too much noise and disturbing them, and so he will be very sensitive about it. We have seen them, which is wonderful. And so if we don't see them again, at least we have had view, and at least we know they are on Djuma, which is the best news. Come on, Mr. Giraffe, time waits for no man. You're a limping old fella, you ain't got too much time left. And I know that the Twitter sphere, Jerry's just saying to me, is not talking much about these giraffe, which ordinarily they would be. It is consumed with talk and speculation and joy at the discovery of Karula's little cubs. The little royal children. I think we shall name these ones depending on their sexes. Probably, if we've got a male and a female, perhaps George and Charlotte, perhaps William and Harry if they're two males. Obviously that will not go down well with the ranging teams around here, so that will not be their names, but I think it would be quite funny. Jerry says, I can't take the royal names I've given the hyenas and give them to the leopards. I beg to differ. I think I can do that entirely. That is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. The female is mounting the male. This is unbelievable. The female is attempting to seemingly show the male how it's done. I don't know what to say. Brian, have you ever seen that before?
No. Maybe he's new, doesn't know what to do.
He's not, he's ancient. Maybe he's ancient and has forgotten
what to do.
That is unbelievable. I don't know how to explain that. I've got no idea how to possibly try and explain why a female giraffe in estrus would try and mate a male, or mount a male. Can only assume it's because she's in estrus and she's therefore ready, I suppose, to mate. Justin, on Twitter, you say that you are invested now in these giraffe, and it looks like one of them's waiting for the other to make a move. Well, I think the female made a very clear move there, telling him to get on with it. It's absolutely amazing. Wonderful. I'm just getting an update on the radio as we speak. Sorry, that game drive radio is going ridiculous in my ear. Of course, as soon as anybody hears that Karula's around with cubs, there's going to be mass panic. There she goes again. This is just bizarre. No word from Brent yet, everyone. I will keep you posted. We will all keep you posted. Jerry is monitoring his progress. And I think Jamie is in the area helping him. Hello, Linda. Very good question. Is this non-performing male giraffe? How old do I think he is? Linda, I think that he is probably pushing 20, maybe 17 or 18. They've got a potential lifespan. Oh, here he goes. Potential lifespan of 20 out here. He's quite old, though. Come on, don't just stand there, you great imbecile. It is just bizarre. Come on. He keeps sort of bumping her with his chest and then standing there. One does wonder if there's any kind of communication going on there, or if she perhaps should move on to find a younger, more vigorous man. Come on. Now the vultures are all taking to the skies, everyone. We'll keep an eye on those giraffe. But the vultures are all taking to the sky. It's just as these sort of thermals start to rise, and it's an indicator that whatever they were eating is now well finished. Isn't that wonderful? Hundreds of them taking to the skies now, flying up on the thermals. Here we go, Brian. He looked like he might make an attempt there. Now, I'm being quite sarcastic and flippant about this whole process, but it's not common to catch it on camera. It clearly happens often enough, otherwise we wouldn't have so many giraffe around, but to catch it on camera is very unusual. Brian, quickly, sorry, onto that roller. Watch the roller, everybody. You're going to see why it's called a roller now. Just keep watching it. It's a little bird. You've got him there. I can't see the monitor. Watch him. He's going to do his display. Here we go. At the apex. He's going to try and get a little bit more height. Not quite as high as the Rupel's vulture. Turn around, you beastly bird. He should come back this direction. Here we go. Don't let me down. The giraffe are not mating. He's just kind of decided to leave. That's ridiculous. Sorry, they normally take off like that, make their noise, and then land again. If he comes back, we'll keep you posted. But they do a very acrobatic flight, that's why they're called rollers. The old boy is looking a little bit disinterested again. She's having to nibble on his neck. There you are, now she's preparing. And he is going back to standing behind her and hitting her with his chest every so often. No, he's a hopeless case. Jerry reckons she needs to learn to sway her hips a bit more like Tandy and Karula. It is interesting how differently it does happen between the different mammals. So this long, drawn-out, almost painful process of giraffe mating here versus the kind of violent and vigorous nature with which the cats tend to mate with each other. Impala and springbok and other antelope tend to, they don't mess around with it. Well, I mean, there's a long lead up into it. This rutting period for impala takes forever. But the actual act of mating takes less than 5 seconds. But this is interminable. And giraffe, it doesn't help, of course, that giraffe have a permanent look of utter confusion on their faces. They always look so bemused. No, don't walk round in front. That's very unhelpful. One wonders if there's any form of communication going on there, like Brian and I were chatting about. Is she saying to him, well, come on, get on with it? Or is he saying, you know, you're a young lady, it's lovely to meet you, kind of thing, can I buy you a drink? Or is there just an awkward silence between them where he's just standing there and she's thinking, is he or isn't he? What's going to happen here? And to me it does look like it's an awkward silence. She's thinking, is he going to get on with it? And he's thinking, oh, I don't know. I don't really remember how this sort of thing goes on, and why is she reversing into me? My senile mind can't quite comprehend what's going on here. And you. Now we know he's old from his limp, of course, and from that huge amount of calcification on the front of his skull. Come on, old boy. She ain't going to be more inviting than she is right now. He just keeps hitting her with his chest. Yeah, and as Jerry says, this is the most awkward interaction. Yes! And then she moves forward. Now he'll stand around again for the next week, waiting. Stand still, lady, if that's what you want. You don't want to be moving when he eventually manages to do this. Now, I'm being completely flippant at the moment. It is quite possible that this is part of the evolutionary process that has led to, you know, giraffe breeding the way they do. We know that the cats have to mate more than 100 times in order for her to conceive and have cubs. That's certainly what happens with the leopards. There may well be some physiological process here that has to take place that we don't understand yet. So he might not be quite ready. Perhaps his body is rapidly trying to produce sufficient sperm to impregnate her, and the fact that he wouldn't have that in reserve is actually quite a good idea because it's expensive to make, so there would be no point in him having it. And so maybe this interaction is a biological response where he needs this sort of time in order to produce sufficient sperm to then impregnate her, as opposed to him just being a senile old git. So that could well be the case. Brent is still on the hunt, everybody. Siberia Zumi, an interesting guess from you. You have used the analogy of a male watching sport, and you say perhaps he just wants to watch the rugby and she just wants to cuddle. Siberia, from her interaction before this, I'd say cuddling is the last thing on her mind. I'd say that he may well be trying to watch the rugby, and she, of course, will be walking in front of the screen and trying to distract him. But now that he has been distracted, she keeps moving off. Very odd. Now, what you'll find, I think, is that with many animals where there is this continual mating, or hidden estrus, so the primates, or most of the primates, and then with what else would be a good example? Well, let's use the primates as an example. Even the cats, they're ready to mate at any time. They're non-seasonal breeders. In the case of the primates, estrus is hidden from the males, and so, well, in a lot of the primates, the chimpanzees and the human beings, for example, estrus is hidden from the males, and if it isn't, like in baboons, where it isn't hidden, the females can come into estrus at any time. The males must be ready to mate at any stage if they want to leave a genetic legacy. Whereas in the antelope, which are very seasonal breeders, the physiological strains of maintaining testicles that are able to mate immediately on demand is removed. They don't have to do that because they can only mate during that very brief mating season. And so that's why we see the impala with their sort of secondary sexual characteristics coming to the fore at this time of year, those enormous testicles that start to drop down, and the fact that they get those big thick necks, which is the equivalent basically of a human being having going through puberty again, like a second puberty almost. And with this giraffe, I just wonder if it isn't the same sort of thing. Although they're not necessarily particularly seasonal breeders, the fact that they're not in estrus all the time might indicate that they have evolved an ability to kind of save energy by going through a long, prolonged, deeply painful, deeply awkward courtship process. He's just had a nibble on a buffalo thorn. It's interesting question from our viewers, and seemingly obvious one that I didn't think of. Could his limp perhaps be affecting his ability to mount her? Could he be too sore, and so every time he kind of puts his weight on the back or hind legs there, it becomes impossible for him? It's possible, yeah. I think that that's not a bad thought, actually, except it seems to be, it wasn't a very bad limp. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's just embarrassed. Maybe she's the voyeur and he's not. And he's not prepared to engage in this sort of shenanigans with someone watching. I have to say, I do find it amazing that this act, if you like, look at all those oxpeckers coming in, look at the hundreds of them. The carnal act, if you like, is the most private thing that a human being can ever do, of course. But as soon as the animals do it out here, we become completely fascinated by it. I don't know, I find it slightly jarring. I'd love to know what any of you thought, why it is that it is such a completely private thing for human beings. There we go. No, not quite. Oxpeckers took off. All right, we're going to wait for this very painful process to unfold. Brent has not found the cubs, so I don't want to raise your hopes, but he has found their little tracks, so which we will be following a lot over the next few months. So let's go across to him and get an update from the horse's mouth, as it were.
So, we've decided we're not going to put any more pressure on that area. We're just going to leave her be. We'll have another look on the sunset safari, but we decided to show you some cub tracks because this is the first cub tracks I've seen since I've been here, so very exciting. Now, the other very interesting thing is the tracks we had of her first thing this morning were coming this way. Now, those tracks are, I've driven over them unfortunately, but there's immediately another set of tracks going back. So there's 3 sets of her tracks here. Oop, and there we go. And there is a baby leopard cub track. And you can see the size of it next to my hand. And compared to Karula's, which is there, I'm just going to do that. So, there's shadows. So you can see there, that's how long Karula's is. And the little leopards are about half the size. I'm still in awe. I'm still speechless that we've been lucky enough to see Karula. And strangely enough, for me, it's very fitting. The first time I ever saw Karula was probably about 100 meters from where we first saw those little cubs. In my excitement, I was trying to take a picture, but unfortunately my camera battery died. So I think I managed to snap off one before it was all over. And I'll see if we can have a look at it now. And it's just the one, oh, sorry. Where do you want me to? There we go. Walking towards mom. The only photo. So they do exist, these leopard cubs we talk about. And really exciting that she's decided to move them back onto Djuma. And I'm very, very certain we're going to find her again because there is a kill somewhere in this block. Now, we're not going to go bash and crash too much through here. What I will do is I will drive a long sort of loop around just to make sure she hasn't crossed Philemon's cut line. So I'm sure there's lots of questions and I will do my best to try and answer as many of those questions as possible. But I just want to say a big high five to everyone out there, and Jandre, you're allowed as well. But finally, so since that first sighting when they were literally hours old, now to just over 2 months old, absolutely incredible. So Natasha and Siberia would like to know where we are and is the hyena den close. Well, where we are is a state secret. I shall not be revealing such details today, but I can guarantee you that the hyena den is not close, but no, only playing. We are between, they went into the area between Shabam Road and Philemon's cut line, but to the southeast of Zoe's. Calm down a little bit now. At the moment, just bathe in the glory of Karula's babies. They were so adorable. Now, they haven't spent too much time with vehicles, and you can see that immediately by their reaction as we came around the corner. Now, this will change, but we are, for the first little bit, going to have to be very sensitive and very careful around them. But there is almost nothing cuter than a leopard cub. I know James will disagree. He thinks lion cubs are cuter. But I think I'm going to go with leopard winning the cat battle of cuteness. So, since I was the first of the guides to see those little guys, Andy and Julia are wondering if I get to name them. So, not necessarily what we will do at the next head rangers meeting. There's all the different properties that see her regularly, different lodges. We will all put in 2 names, and we'll discuss 2 names per individual, and then we will discuss and decide what are the best names for them at that meeting, and the decision will be made there. At least VM doesn't get any naming rights. As VM wants to call the next leopard cub we find, what is it? Demon Slayer and Dark Shadow. That's what he wants to call the next set of cubs, but I think we're probably going to go with the Shangaan name. So they're just over 2 months old, and Natasha's wondering, are they old enough to eat meat? Yes, they are. They can even sometimes eat meat when they're a little bit younger. Now, they're almost fully weaned, not completely, but almost fully weaned at the young age of 3 months. So they will definitely be eating meat already. So her general direction was sort of west. And we're just going to make sure she hasn't crossed over Philemon's cut line, and maybe check around to Zoe's if she hasn't gone to that area. I don't think she would take the cubs too much further west than this, because that sort of very much falls within Shadow's part of the world. So she'll try to keep them a little bit further away from Shadow's territory, as will Shadow try to keep her cubs away from Karula's. So I mentioned earlier we won't view the cubs without Karula being present till they're a bit older, and Mohammed would like to know why. Well, Mohammed, they're not as relaxed when their mother's not there, and we don't want to give any negative connotations with game viewing vehicles to those cubs. So the cubs are always going to be more relaxed while mom's there, and until they're old enough and relaxed enough that we feel it's fine to view them without mom. If we find them without mom, we'll have a quick view and then we'll move out. It's more for the babies than anything else, just to get them really nice and habituated to the vehicles. And it's always going to be better when mom's around. Sorry, I thought I heard a testicular alarm call. Little bird, but quite often... Oh, and quickly across to the Amorous giraffes.
They've come closer and closer, everyone, and nothing has transpired. Every time he looks like he might get it on, as it were, she kind of, she's reversing into him, then she walks forward again. And I don't know if there are any young viewers watching, but if there are, they're involved basically in making some more giraffe. Further than that, you're going to have to ask your parents as to what's going on here. But he seems to be fairly ready. Every so often, he gets a fairly mighty protrusion coming out from underneath his undercarriage there, and then she kind of takes fright and walks off. But let's just keep watching and see what happens here. I mean, he's definitely reacting to her, and I think she's definitely an estrus, and he is, I mean, he's having a tremendous physiological response to her. He's not actually just hitting her with his chest there. He's actually having a convulsion every so often. You can see the mighty protrusion that has emerged, and you can see now that he's having a convulsion every so often. It's not it's not that he's butting her. And the awkward silence, as Jerry says, resumes. The other interesting thing is that that his penis has got a hook on it, which you can't really see from this angle, but it goes around. I don't want to move again. I kind of want to stay right where we are. It sort of hooks away to the right-hand side, and she keeps kind of turning to the side, and I wonder if there's in some way and that's how they mate. Move a little bit here. And now it's back in again. I think this is worth sitting around for, everyone. I'm fascinated to see how it happens, if it happens at all. And there it comes again. Now he's definitely having convulsions. That's what kind of frightens her off every so often. I'm pretty sure that this is, as I guessed. There we go. Whether there was any success there, I don't know. What do you think, Brian? No. This is unbelievable. And back in it goes. So I think he's basically preparing. I think his physiology is helping him to prepare. She's ready. Well, is she? And every time he tries to mount her, she runs forward. The other slightly odd thing to me is that she is got very swollen teats. And I don't know if that's a function of estrus or if it is a function of the fact that, I don't know, perhaps she's still lactating from a previous youngster. And I know one of you asked whether she was perhaps not in estrus at the moment, and that's why she keeps moving away. No, I don't think that's the case. I don't think he'd be reacting like this, A, and B, giraffe just move off if they don't want to mate. I've seen a female running, literally, herring off into the sunset in the wake of a male trying to follow her. He seems to me like there we go, he's getting more and more kind of, I mean, that's the third time he's done it now in the last 10 minutes or so. She's definitely, I mean, she's rubbing her backside against his chest. She might just be not quite ready for it yet. But there, look at that. She really is. Here we go. Come on. He just has these, every time she kind of backs into him, he has these convulsions, which then makes her move forward, and it's all rather awkward. Ah, there we go. Thank you, Sharon. There's a wonderful comment from you. Sharon, you say you watched giraffes for 3 hours once, and they didn't manage to consummate. Well, we've been with them almost 3 hours now. Not us, but, I mean, through the course of the game drive, we've been with them for almost 3 hours. And there, I don't know, Brian, if you can get the picture of that hook there on his penis. It really has got a very hard hook off to the starboard side there. Quite bizarre. What that dangly bit on the end of it is for, I couldn't begin to tell you. gosh, it's got a life of its own. That was close. That was a near thing. He made contact there. She is busy ruminating now. If you look at her face, her cheeks are full of leaves and she's chewing. So she's obviously finding this quite hungry business. And one does wonder what the evolutionary function of this deeply prolonged state of courtship is, because of course it does come with a cost. The less time they spend feeding, the less time or the more time they spend doing this sort of thing, the less time they have to look out for predators and see what's going on. And like I say, she would definitely just move away if she wasn't interested. Hello, Brenda in Canada. You were mentioning something called Flehmen, which takes place prior to the stage of what's going on here. And I think you've got it slightly mixed up, but you say that a male impala will test a female's urine, and that tests whether she's a good mate or not. It doesn't do that. What it does, Brenda, is it allows him to tell whether she's an estrus. So he will, like most mammals, sniff her urine, and her urine will contain the hormones that will be a signal to him as to whether she's an estrus or not. And he does this Flehmen display is when they open up their lips, and what that does is open up a tract to the, there we go, it opens up a tract to the vemeronasal or Jacobson's organ, and that will then interpret the signals from the hormones in the urine and tell the male whether she is an estrus or not. Now, that will then trigger, it's not so much whether he wants to tell whether she's in estrus or not, because a male will mate with anything that basically will allow him to. But what he's doing is testing, or he's not so much testing as his physiology will then kick in. So his desire, no cigar there. His desire will be piqued by the suite of hormones interpreted by his Jacobson's organ. And so the process by which this, eventually what we're watching here, happens is started off by the pheromones and hormones in her urine that get into his body through the Flehmen display. Thank you for that, Brenda. And meanwhile, the Earth continues revolving. And then kind of along the same lines, we're just getting a few comments in about, this kind of prolonged process of seeming rejection is a way of her deciding whether she really wants to mate with this chap and find if there isn't perhaps another male around who's a better option. Again, I think once it's got to this stage, she's made that decision already. Once, certainly, absolutely, males will fight over estrus females, and that will help her to decide who it is that she's going to mate with. But once it's got to this stage where she's actually backing into him and allowing him to mount her every so often, she's not selecting anymore. She's made her selection. That's not to say we're a bigger male to come around here and fight him off, that she wouldn't then mate with him. And what you might find is that this is a kind of proto-estrus, where she's not quite ready. Let's head back across to Brent, just get an update from him, and I'll keep you posted here.
So, has another Saturday Cataday appears. What a wonderful, wonderful morning. Oh, here you go, Jean-Andre, something for you to do. Make yourself useful. And that is, I'm pretty sure, one of the vultures that we saw earlier this morning flying from that area as it gets warm, looking for a nice thermal or a nice carcass somewhere. You can see how he's going to start turning now, looking for that warm air rising. Oh, and unfortunately he's gone over our head, but there we are, white-backed vulture. So I'm pretty certain Karula has got a kill in that area. I just don't want to create too much traffic around there for now. What we're probably going to do is we'll go out after drive and take a walk, a very slow walk. And once we've established where that kill is, we'll be able to get a vehicle in there. For now, it will still be a one-vehicle sighting. What has Jean-Andre spotted? Oh, more vultures coming apparently. Oh, they're very far away, those vultures. See, there's those vultures. They're still looking for a thermal. Oh, it's amazing how they just disappear. When they catch that warm air, they go shoot up. There we go. Now, incredible birds being recorded at the same height as commercial airliners. Oh, no, that thermal obviously didn't work, and you can see how it's dropping. So being so big and heavy, they don't like to flap too much. It takes a lot of energy. That's why they ride those thermals up. Very similar principle if anyone's ever been in a glider. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, is it a boy, is it a girl, is it both? And that view we had today wasn't the best, very difficult. Hello, monkeys. Let's see if we can get a bit closer to those vervets. Hello, Rosanna from the land of the long white cloud. Rosanna is wondering, how do animals communicate with their young, based on what I was talking about chuffing with Karula? Well, it depends. There's lots of, I think, visual communication between a lot of the animals is the most important. But with the cats and their young, lions will do quite a lot of low, not meowing, but low calling, sort of. Or ow, ow. Now, leopards can do that when they're a bit further away. They're ow, ow. But it seems it's a bit deeper than a lion's. But when they're very close, they chuff. Oh, I just saw that monkey run. Where did he run? What tree did he run up? You got him. There we go. So, and that leopard chuffing is a very cool sound. Oh, baby monkeys, lots of monkeys. Oh, look at them go. Full of the joy of the morning. Our set of eyes and ears, our alarm system in the bush, the vervet monkeys. You see those two playing, jumping on each other there? There we go. Let me sit on you. No, I'm out of here. What is that one doing? It looks like he's hugging the branch. So it is a bit early still, so quite a few of the monkeys are still waking up, and they like to bask. As we get closer and closer to the really cold months, in the early morning, you will often find monkeys sitting on the edge of a tree in the sun trying to warm up. Sorry guys, just need to be on the radio. Standing by. western side. Let's just try. Oh, he's finished now. But they are absolutely fascinating. Primates display so many interesting behavioral traits. Let's try to see if we can get a better view of them. So it's just a quick update from James. Those giraffe have lost interest in each other and have moved away from each other. Oh, big jump. Now, these guys are absolutely, it's amazing how agile they are. And they trust their agility from a very young age. Now, if we come up under the marula to the right at the back, there's some more in there. There we go. Definitely one of my favorite animals to spend time with. You got him? Right in the middle of your shot. You do have him. Yeah. So they do eat leaves. They also are very much omnivores. They will take flesh. They will eat birds, baby birds, eggs, but mostly leaves and fruit and insects. And incredibly adaptable. And one of the few animals that adapts very well to human habitation and become expert scavengers. There you go. Oh, they've all decided to move off behind the branches and that, so we'll do the same. And it's not often that I'm rendered speechless, but I'm still battling to speak after seeing those little leopards. And I'm really looking forward to spending more time with them. Well, these are not Amorous giraffe, but there seem some more giraffes. Anna-Marie is saying now that Karula's brought them out, does this mean they can climb trees? Yes, at about 2 months they are quite adept at being able to scuttle up a tree if there's any form of danger around. And that's one of the reasons we wait until the leopard cubs are 2 months old before we start spending long periods of time with them. Oh, look at that very small baby giraffe. It's just babies everywhere today. Oh, that's tiny. Look at that. Tiny, tiny little baby. Probably a couple of weeks old at the most. Maybe, let's see, sometimes there might still be a bit of the umbilical cord attached. Yes, it is. So it's probably a week or under a week old. Baby giraffe are born at about 2 meters tall, just under 2 meters tall, so about my height. But even though that one is tiny, it's probably very close to my height. And they're born weighing about 100 kilograms, which is over 200 pounds. A very big baby. And they come into life with a bit of a shock because they fall from mom, which is about 2 meters. And it sort of kick-starts them. I've seen giraffe giving birth before, and it looks very uncomfortable for the baby. It sort of hits the ground with this heavy thud. And mom's eating a buffalo thorn. So, as I was saying, I said 2 meters. I was a bit incorrect. The 2 meters is what she falls from. They're born at about 1.8 meters, so just a little bit shorter than me. trying to wait for them to get a little bit more relaxed before I move a bit closer. So the mom is seeming nice and relaxed, but baby probably hasn't seen too many game drive vehicles yet. So again, with anything, let the car run for a few seconds, let them get used to the noise. Don't start and immediately move. Just inch closer. They do have a very funny and bemused look upon their face at this age. You can see those very fluffy little ossicones. I can't see whether it's a male or female baby just yet, but you can see very, very fluffy and very sweet. So even though at the moment he's probably heavily reliant on mother's milk, he would have already started feeding on leaves and trees, and they can be weaned as young as a month old from mom. Now, giraffe have quite an interesting little way of breeding or of raising their young. You do get calving herds or sort of nursery herds, where multiple babies will be left with a single mother while the others move off to feed and drink and whatnot, and all those babies will be able to access that single animal that is theirs milk, even if it isn't their direct mother. And we don't really see that type of behavior here. So it's not the greatest giraffe country in the world, not enough for care shells. But in areas where you do get big groups of giraffe, I think the biggest I've seen is over 40. Oh, here comes the little one again. It's getting a little more curious. Look at that, in tandem. Mom's spotted something, but don't worry, Mom, I also spotted it. It's just a wildebeest. Now, giraffe are very, very good mothers, and they will actually stand over a baby and kick out at a predator like a lion or hyenas that try and grab the baby. And at this age, those are the two main predators for a baby giraffe. Lions really like baby giraffe, and if there's a group of hyenas, they'll see this as a very possible target. Now, the only leopard I've ever heard catching and killing a baby giraffe in this part of the world, it does happen elsewhere, was the Anderson male who actually caught a baby giraffe and hoisted him into a tree to the south. Now, that is absolutely incredible. That is not something you hear of every day. Now, out of all the little fluffy toys you get of the wild animals here, I think the baby giraffe looks most like the real deal. So those little fluffy giraffe look very similar to this little fluffy creature. Yes, I'm talking about you. A perfect miniature version of the adult. Still not 100% relaxed, and that's why we're keeping our distance a little bit and staying quite nice and still. So let's leave Mum and Baba and move along. So this is just, as it's got warmer, I did say we're going to look for some butterflies. And there's some African monarchs flopping around here, and they are just incredibly beautiful. And you got them there, John, right there we go. Look at that. Such stunning colors, right? Representing danger to a bird who wants to eat. And we can see those little spots on the inside of the wing, and that's what tells us it's a monarch and not a diadem, which mimics the monarch, but the coloration there is so stunning. And on the diadems, it's a little bit less obvious. It's just not, they're just not quite as bright. And with all the excitement with the leopard cubs this morning, I forgot to try find that butterfly we saw on yesterday's sunset safari. I will double check now. But oh, look at the mom and baby giraffe are heading out into the open. So we'll stay with them a bit longer. I'll let you look at them while I try to find that butterfly from yesterday's sunset safari. So cute when they gallop. So, hi, Siba Cecil from Hubman's Kraal, just outside Pretoria. Now, Siba Cecil is saying last year he heard that a white giraffe was born in Tanzania due to leucism, and is wondering if I can shed some light on that, about that condition. Well, Siba Cecil, leucism is the lack of the color pigmentation melanin. So when you have an over sort of, well, what's the right word I'm looking for? A dominant sort of over use of not leucism, the melanin color, you get melanistic, which is black. So leucism is the opposite of that. So it's the lack of that black color hormone. So that is what happens there. It's more common in birds, but we do see certain leucistic animals occasionally. Have we seen one here? I can't remember. The most common leucistic animal I've seen in this part of the world is actually a bronze-winged courser. I've seen quite a few different leucistic bronze-winged coursers, which is a little bird. Okay, we have found the Latin name for that butterfly. Now I'm just going to try to find the common name. One must remember it might not have a common name. $173. I knew it. I just couldn't remember its name. And I thought it might be a Shiraxis, but I was wrong. It is called a painted lady. What a beautiful name for a butterfly. So that is the butterfly species I couldn't identify. It was a bit rusty, but there we go. And its Latin name is even a lady's name, Vanessa. Vanessa Cardui, probably something to do with whoever discovered it. But there we go, that's it, a painted lady. How wonderful. Mom having a little rest in the shade. So, Jen is wondering, is that mother giraffe's hip looks quite prominent to her? Could that be from that very dry section we had? I don't think so, Jen. I think she looks in pretty good nick to me. And I think it's just the angle she's standing at the moment. Oh, look there, she's grooming and licking the baby very briefly. Oh, hello, little one. Well, it's definitely been a morning of babies. Baby giraffe, baby leopards, baby monkey, and the attempt at making babies by a giraffe as well. Very unsuccessful so far. So if those two you've been watching with James get it right, this is what comes afterwards. Ooh, having a drink. No, Mom is not ready. So Kat, who's in Tampa in sunny Florida, says Karula's cubs on the Sunrise Drive and Cheetah Plains for the first time on the Sunset Drive. Wow, Wild Earth, you really spoil us. Well, we do try, Kat, to give you the most all-encompassing safari experience we can, and we really do appreciate having all you guys there and your comments and feedback. I'm still literally buzzing on a high from seeing Karula's cubs for the second time. So last time I saw them, they were like little sausages, so they've definitely grown, but it has been splendid, and hopefully we'll be able to find Karula's and her cubs again on the sunset. And as well as the most exciting news, apart from Karula, of course, I think that's more exciting, but we will be traversing Cheetah Plains from tonight. So very exciting. So we're going to say goodbye. I'm still stumbling over words because of those little ball bundles of cuteness. But let's go see James so he can also say adieu.
Hello. We just came and did a little flyby where Brent left Karula and Cups. Well, they were right in the block, so we didn't go into the block. We just kind of drove around it to see if she wasn't perhaps lurking in the top of the tree with a hapless duiker and two of her babies, but we didn't find anything. So we'll discuss it when we get back to camp as to how we're going to proceed. One of us, Jamie or I, will be on Cheetah Plains today, and one of us will no doubt be here trying to see if we can find Karula and her cubs. We are going to decide this on a flip of a coin. Both very exciting. We're extremely excited to be going to Cheetah Plains this afternoon, and very excited, of course, as well, to be hopefully seeing those little balls of fluff, I think is what did he call them? Bundles of joy. I'm not sure I would have referred to them as that, but that's Brent's term for the little leopards. I hope they are joyful bundles. Anyway. And we do hope, of course, during the course of the day that dear old Mr. Giraffe manages to consummate his desires, and, well, seemingly hers too. We hope that she too succeeds with what has been an extended period of courtship and effort on both of their parts. Wonderful morning that it has been. We've had some incredible vulture stuff as well. The recalcitrant roller that flew off and wouldn't do its display like it should have. It's broken. I think it's going to be a nice warm afternoon. So that's good news. We will see you, of course, later this afternoon. Thank you to all of you for your questions and comments during the course of the morning. It is always wonderful chatting to Aqua. Some good ones from you. I think Grant, yours are, and Dovian or someone like that asked about some wonderful stuff about evolution. Big thanks to the final control to Brian on camera, and we'll see you this afternoon. Bye-bye.